giving the interpretation, Daniel did not use the plural person, but used the singular form Perez. Dar 5. 28. Perhaps this was because only Belshazzar was present to hear the prophet explain the prophetic message, although it applied to both rulers of the Babylonian Empire, Belshazzar and Nabonidus. See Perez. Parthians Parthia middle dot ends of belonging to Parthia. Jews and proselytes from Parthia are listed first among those visitors attending the festival of Pentecost, 33 CE in Jerusalem. God's Holy Spirit poured out on the group of about 120 Christian disciples, enabled them to proclaim the good news in the language or dialect of those Parthians, some of whom doubtless responded favorably, became Christians, and likely spread the message among their own people upon returning to Parthia. Act 1. 15. 2. 1, 4-12, 37-47. The natural Jews from Parthia were part of the dispersion. The proselytes. Act 2. 10 were non-Jews who had become converts to Judaism. The Parthian Empire originated of the Caspian Sea, but in time came to extend from the Euphrates as far as India. The Parthians were subject to the Persians from the time of King Cyrus. Later, coming under Greek domination, they rebelled against the successors of Alexander the Great and managed to maintain their independence for several centuries, even against Rome. They held Judea for several years before losing it to the Romans. The Parthians were still an independent nation in the 1st century, and though they practiced the predominant Persian religion, the religions of the Jews and others were tolerated. Partridge Heb. Comidal.re. A chicken-like gallinaceous bird, stout-bodied, smaller than the pheasant, able to run and dodge with great swiftness, seldom resorting to flight and tiring quickly when it does. Two kinds of partridges found in Palestine are the sand partridge Mopatix and the rock partridge Electris greco-textoi acute muritra longo, Peru. 580. A partridge upon the mountains. 1 26. 20. Compare 3. 52. The text at Jeremiah 17. 11, likening the man unjustly amassing wealth to the partridge that has gathered together or, possibly, hatched what it has not laid, has been the subject of much discussion. Whereas certain ancient writers described the partridge as taking eggs from other hens' nests and incubating them, present-day naturalists state that none of the birds classified as partridges have such a practice. However, Lexicon in Veteris Testamenti Labros refers to Jewish zoologist Israel Aharoni 1882-1946, a writer of works on Palestinian animal life, as having found 2 layings of 11 eggs each of 2 different females partridges in the same nest. By L. Cooler and W. Baumgartner, Leiden, 1958, p. 851. Thus, the Encyclopædia Judaica 1973, Volume 13, Col. 156 states. Sometimes 2 females lay eggs in the same nest, in which case one gains the upper hand and drives the other away. However, her small body is unable to keep such a large number of eggs warm, so that eventually the embryos die. It was to this that the proverb in Jeremiah 17. 11 referred when speaking of one who robs another of his possessions without ultimately deriving any benefit. Jeremiah 17. 11 in the King James Version reads, As the partridge sitteth on eggs, and hatcheth them not, so he that getteth riches, and not by right, shall leave them in the midst of his days, and at his end shall be a fool. In support of this alternative interpretation, John Sawyer reasons that the point is the proverbial vulnerability of the partridge's nest, exposed as it is to marauding predators of many kinds, compared to the vulnerability of the fool who puts his trust in base gain. He goes on to say that the effectiveness of the proverb in Jeremiah 17. 11 does not depend on the treachery of the brooding partridge, but on its vulnerability, compared to the false sense of security of the fool who thinks he can get away with his criminal acquisitiveness. Unaware of the dangers hanging over him and defenseless when disaster strikes. Vetus Testamentum, Leiden, 1978, pages 324, 328, 329. Peru Parmiddle.Ruah. Father of the Jehoshaphat who served as Solomon's food deputy in the territory of Issachar. 1 Kai 4. 7, 17. Parsach. Family head in the tribe of Asher. Son of Japhlet. 1 Ch 7. 30, 33, 40. Pasdamin Pasdamim. Evidently another name for Ephisdamim, a place between Soko and Azekah. 1 to 17. 1. 1 ch 11. 13. Parsiapar Middle. Salam. 1. A descendant of Judah in the line of Chub the brother of Shuah. 1 ch 4. 1, 11, 12. 2. Forefather of a family of Nethinim, some of whom returned from the Babylonian exile with Zerubbabel in 537 BCE as 2. 1, 2, 43, 49. Ne 7. 51. 3. Father of the Joiada who helped repair the gate of the old city in the wall of Jerusalem 455 BCE. Ne 3. 6. Pasha Pashhur. 1. Father of Gedaliah who was one of the princes of Judah responsible for having Jeremiah thrown into a cistern. 38. 1, 4, 6.